Everyone, welcome back to Film Freaks. I'm Megan, and today I'm going to be giving you 5 questionable children's movies from the 80s. Now, a little backstory on how this started. The other day, I was watching some of Return to Oz, and my husband walked in, and he was like, "What the hell is this?" Obviously, he'd never seen it, and I was like, "What? This is one of my favorite movies from when I was a kid." And he watched a little bit and was like, "Yeah, this explains a lot. This movie's creepy." So it started making me think, what are some other movies that I watched as a kid that now as an adult, I'm like, oh, it's a little dark. So, spoiler alert, Return to Oz is going to be on here, so might as well get started with that. Dorothy can't seem to get Oz out of her mind, and her Aunt Em and Uncle Henry are struggling to recover from the devastating tornado that took Dorothy in the first place. Frustrated with what they believe are hallucinations, as well as insomnia, Aunt Em and Uncle Henry decide to take Dorothy to a doctor outside of town. He is attempting a new method of treatment, which we soon realize is shock therapy, but a terrible storm knocks out the power, and while he and the head nurse attempt to restore it, another patient in the hospital, a mysterious girl, frees Dorothy, and they run away from the hospital. The other girl is lost in the river during the storm, while Dorothy is transported back to Oz. So where to begin with the creep factor on this one? Well, there's Mombi, who has a whole collection of heads in a cabinet that she can change out at whenever she wants. Then there's the deadly desert, where if you fall into it, you'll disintegrate. The Wheelers, that are basically just men on wheels, which is just, I don't know, they're really creepy. And then there's the whole thing with the Gnome King being allergic to chickens, so I don't know what that is. But then there's also the whole element of the first one versus this one. In the first one, we have Dorothy, who's just trying to get the Tin Man his heart, and the brain for the Scarecrow, and the lion his courage. And in this one, it's more of a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest thing, where Nurse Ratched is trying to give her shock therapy. I don't know. I still like it. I don't know what that says about me, but whatever. I mean, it definitely has some dark moments to it, though. But again, I still like it, so whatever. All right, next up, The Dark Crystal, 1982. A gelfling named Jen must find the missing piece of a magical crystal so that he can restore balance to the world. So this was a really good movie. I mean, it's Jim Henson. Who doesn't like Jim Henson? But there's definitely some weird parts to it, especially with the Skeksis. They're like these evil bird-like creatures, and one of them makes this really weird noise, and then there's the whole thing with them like sucking the essence out of the other gelflings and cute little animals. I mean, to this day, my sister still can't even hear the word essence without getting grossed out. But overall, I really liked it. There's the whole thing with the balancing of good and evil at the end, and I mean, I thought it was really good, but definitely had some questionable moments to it. All right, up next, The Neverending Story. Bastian is struggling with the loss of his mother, and the only way he knows how to cope is by reading. He promises his dad he won't get lost in the fantasy world anymore, but while running away from bullies, he ventures into a bookstore and discovers The Neverending Story. He takes it, leaving a note promising to return it when he's done. He's immediately captivated by the story, which follows Atreyu, a warrior who must stop the Nothing from destroying Fantasia. But Bastian begins to notice he's more than just an observer in this tale. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. Obviously, the death of Artax, the horse, was the hardest thing to get through in this movie. It is long and drawn out, and I'm just like, is it really necessary? I mean, honestly, I love this movie so much, but this scene is just brutal. I mean, it's basically every child's first experience with depression. I mean, it's walking through the swamp of sadness, and then just gives up. So I don't know. I don't know. Anytime this movie comes on, I love watching it, but I have to fast forward through that. Fast forward. I just said fast forward. Shows my age. Yeah. I have to skip that scene when it comes on because I can't watch it. I really can't. But the movie has so many redeemable qualities to it. I mean, one of the best scenes in the movie to me is when Atreyu has to go through the gate with the Sphinx's eyes, where they'll like shoot out if he doesn't have enough confidence and kill him. Now that scene did creep me out as a kid because of the knight that went first and obviously got killed, and then Atreyu's walking and the mask flies up. That always freaked me out, even though I knew it was gonna happen. I mean, this scene gave me so much anxiety, but it's so awesome. And I guess a good lesson about confidence, have confidence or else lasers will shoot out of the Sphinx's eyes and kill you. So there's that. All right, next up, Legend. After his human girlfriend breaks a natural law by touching a unicorn, the demon known as Darkness attempts to kill both unicorns, creating eternal night. So this movie was definitely one of my favorites growing up. I just thought it was so cool. The whole premise with like the unicorn and just, it was a very pretty movie. It had glitter and just, it was really cool. But the creatures in the movie were definitely creepy, which I feel like in a way this could almost be a creature feature film. I mean, they had some really gnarly things in there. The main bad guy, aside from Darkness, was Blix. And it's actually based off of Keith Richards, The Appearance, which once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then you also had Tim Curry, who was amazing. He played Darkness. I don't even know how long that makeup must have taken, but was absolutely incredible. And then you also had this pig-like thing that it just, even for today's standard, the makeup was really good. And then there was also a witch called Meg Mucklebones. So yeah, there's a lot of like strange and odd looking creatures in this, but it made it look really cool. However, the makeup and creatures were not the only thing that made this movie a little bit creepy. There was also the whole scene, the dancing with the gown when she first meets Darkness, and you know, the gown comes around and is dancing and circling around her, and finally they both wind up dancing together, and then they embrace, and she is now wearing the gown. That is one of the coolest scenes in the movie, but very spooky and eerie. I could understand being a little kid and getting freaked out by that. So, all right, finally at number 5, one of my favorites, The Last Unicorn. A unicorn leaves the safety of her forest to find out what happened to others like her and discovers it's worse than she could have ever imagined. So before I say anything else, again, I just have to reiterate how much I love this movie. It is one of my favorites. I think it's absolutely amazing and just love it. Having said that, there are definitely some creepy and questionable things that happen in this movie. Specifically with the Mommy Fortuna scene. So Mommy Fortuna is a sorceress played by Angela Lansbury. There's actually a lot of good actors in this movie, but Mommy Fortuna was a sorceress whose magic lied in deceit. She would find normal animals, albeit old and weak, and putting a spell on them, making it so that humans, when they look at them, would see supernatural creatures. The only 2 creatures that she captured that were actually supernatural was the unicorn while she slept and the harpy. And eventually the unicorn breaks free and she frees all the other animals, including the harpy, and the harpy winds up killing her. And it's actually a pretty intense scene and kind of scary, and the music behind it. I mean, it definitely is very creepy. I remember being a kid and being like, is that harpy actually eating her? But yeah, that's what happens. And then the harpy itself looks really weird. I mean, it looks really cool, but it's just like, oh my God. That scene for sure was questionable. And then there's the whole thing with this butterfly that the unicorn talks to that really tell is on something. I mean, it'll go from talking normal to singing nonsensical songs. So there's that whole thing. And then this tree thing that Schmendrick makes, it's this purple creature that like falls in love with him. I don't know, it's a weird scene. But I think the saddest part of this is that the unicorn, in order to hide from the Red Bull, which is the creature that has been collecting the unicorns for King Hagrid, the unicorn is transformed into a human and falls in love with Prince Lear. In the end, she's transformed back so that way she can go back with all the other unicorns, but now she knows what regret is because part of her wishes she could stay human to be with Prince Lear. So yeah, I mean, I remember crying at the end of this one when I was a kid a lot. So yeah, with this one, I still love this movie, but definitely in retrospect, some pretty heavy topics. All right, so those are 5 questionable children's movies from the 80s. How many of these have you guys seen and how many do you still like as an adult? I gotta be honest, I like them all. But definitely let me know. I'm pretty responsive with comments, so I would love to hear your thoughts. I'll also leave links to my Film Freaks Facebook page, as well as my Film Freaks Instagram page in the description. Honestly, I'm not very good with getting on either of those, but I'm gonna try to get better because I think that they are great platforms to have film discussions. So again, check those out. I'll try to get better with them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a new video. Bye, Film Freaks.